I thought I knew what love looked like. 2 years with Madison felt like building something real. We were planning to move in together, had already met each other's families, talked about futures that included each other. Then one Tuesday evening she sat me down with that serious face people make when they are about to blow up your entire world. She needed to talk about our future, she said. She had been doing some soul searching. She had discovered something important about herself. She was polyamorous, she announced, and she needed to open up our relationship. I sat there confused, trying to process what she was telling me while my heart started sinking into my stomach. Before I dive into how Madison turned polyamory into an excuse to destroy everything we built, let me ask you something. Where are you watching this from? New York, Texas, maybe somewhere in California? Drop a comment and let me know. And hey, do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because trust me, what happens next is going to blow your mind. The way I handled this situation, even I cannot believe I had the guts to do it. Madison wanted to play games, but she had no idea who she was playing with. So buckle up, because this story gets wild. That conversation about polyamory lasted 3 hours. Madison sat across from me at our kitchen table, explaining how being polyamorous was not about not loving me. It was about having the capacity to love multiple people at once. She handed me articles she had printed out, showed me videos on her phone, talked about ethical non-monogamy like she was presenting a business proposal. My head was spinning. I had never considered this. We had always been monogamous. 2 years of what I thought was a committed, exclusive relationship, and suddenly the rules were changing. I stayed up that entire night after she went to bed, reading everything I could find about polyamory. I wanted to understand. I wanted to be open-minded. I did not want to lose Madison. Looking back now, I realize how manipulated I was feeling, but in that moment I convinced myself that maybe I was just being closed-minded. Maybe this was her authentic self, and I needed to respect that. The next morning I told her I would try. I had conditions, though. Complete transparency. Honesty above everything. Mutual respect for each other's feelings. She agreed to everything, hugged me tight, told me how much she loved me for being so understanding. She said most men would have just walked away. I felt proud of myself for being mature, for being evolved enough to handle this. That pride lasted exactly 1 week. Madison started talking about wanting to meet someone new, someone to explore this side of herself with. When I asked who, she got vague. Just a friend, she said. Someone from her past. I would meet them eventually, she promised, but she needed to take things slow. Red flags were already popping up in my mind, but I pushed them down. This was new for both of us. Maybe she needed privacy to figure things out. Then I started noticing the changes. Madison was always on her phone, texting someone, smiling at her screen in ways she used to smile at me. She started going out more, meeting friends, she said, but she never invited me along anymore. When I asked about it, she told me I was being clingy. She needed space to explore her identity. Her wardrobe changed too. She bought new dresses, started wearing more makeup, came home smelling like cologne I did not recognize. One night I saw a name pop up on her phone while she was in the shower. Just the letter D. The messages kept coming one after another. I did not read them. I am not that guy. But my gut was screaming at me that something was wrong. When she came out, I asked her about D. Her face went red immediately. She got defensive fast. Did I not trust her? Had I not agreed to polyamory? Why was I suddenly acting jealous and possessive? She turned the whole thing around on me, made me feel like I was the problem. I was the one being unreasonable. I was the one breaking the agreement by not trusting her. That night, I lay awake next to her, feeling like I was going crazy. Was I being paranoid? Was I ruining this with my insecurity? The gaslighting was working perfectly, and I did not even realize it yet. 2 weeks later, I left work early on a Friday afternoon. The office was doing half-day before a long weekend. I was planning to surprise Madison, maybe take her out for an early dinner. Instead, I got the surprise of my life. I was driving through downtown when I spotted her car parked outside a coffee shop. Through the window, I could see her sitting at a table with a man. His arm was around her shoulders. She was leaning into him, laughing at something he said. They looked like a couple. They looked like how we used to look. I pulled over across the street, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I knew that face. It took me a minute, but then it clicked. Derek, her ex-boyfriend from college. The guy she had told me about during one of our early dates, describing him as the most toxic relationship of her life. He had cheated on her multiple times, she had said. He had manipulated her, lied to her, made her feel worthless. She had sworn she would never speak to him again. And there she was in his arms, looking happier than she had looked with me in months. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. All the pieces fell into place. The polyamory talk, the need for privacy, the mysterious D. She did not want to explore her identity. She wanted permission to sleep with her ex-boyfriend without losing me as a backup plan. I did not confront her right then. I do not know why. Maybe I was too shocked. Maybe some part of me still wanted to believe I was wrong. I drove home, parked in our garage, and sat there for an hour trying to figure out what to do. When Madison came home that evening, she was in an exceptionally good mood. She kissed me at the door, told me she had such a wonderful time with her girlfriends at the spa. The lie came so easily to her. So naturally, I asked her which girlfriends. She listed off 3 names. I asked what spa. She named one across town. Every word was a lie, and she did not even blink. Something in me snapped. I looked at her and asked directly if she had seen any men today. Her eyes went wide for just a second before she recovered. No, she said. Why would I ask that? Was I being controlling again? Was I going to ruin our arrangement before it even started? I told her I was just asking. She relaxed, kissed me again, told me she was going to take a shower. I sat on our couch staring at the wall, realizing that the woman I loved did not exist anymore. Maybe she never had. That night I made a decision. I was not going to be the victim in this story. I called Tyler the next morning. He had been my best friend since high school, the one person who had always shot straight with me. I told him everything. The polyamory announcement, the suspicious behavior seeing Madison with Derek. Tyler listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he said exactly what I needed to hear. She is playing you, man. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. You need to get out. But I did not want to just get out. I wanted her to understand what she had done. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling. Tyler offered to lend me his car. I knew what I was going to do, and I hated myself a little for it, but I needed proof. I needed to see it with my own eyes so I could stop second-guessing myself. That Friday night, Madison told me she was going to a spa evening with her girlfriends. She would be home late. I watched her leave, waited 20 minutes, then got in Tyler's car and followed her. She drove straight to an apartment complex in the suburbs. I recognized the address from Derek's Facebook profile, which I had found earlier that week. She parked, checked her makeup in the rearview mirror, and walked up to the 3rd floor. I watched her knock. Derek answered. They kissed right there in the doorway. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss. Then she went inside. I sat in that parking lot for 2 hours. The whole time my emotions were cycling through anger, sadness, betrayal, and something else. A cold, calculating feeling. I was not going to cry. I was not going to fall apart. I was going to think. Around 11 p.m., the apartment door opened. Madison came out, her hair messy, her dress wrinkled. Derek walked her to her car, kissed her goodbye again. She drove off. I waited another 10 minutes, then drove home, making sure to get there before her. When she walked in 30 minutes later, she was humming. Actually humming. She told me the spa was amazing, really relaxing. I asked if she had seen any men there. She laughed. At a women's spa? No, of course not. Why did I keep asking weird questions? I told her I was just curious. She kissed my forehead, told me I needed to work on my trust issues, and went to bed. I stayed up all night on the couch, staring at my phone, thinking about what to do next. Confronting her would just lead to more gaslighting. She would deny everything, turn it around on me, make me feel crazy. I needed something else. Something that would make her face the consequences of her choices. The next day, I went to a coffee shop to clear my head. I needed to think. I needed space from everything. I ordered a black coffee and sat by the window watching people pass by, trying to figure out my next move. That is when I heard someone say my name. I looked up. Standing there with her own coffee was Alexis. Madison's half-sister. I had met her a few times at family gatherings. She was 2 years older than Madison from their father's first marriage. The two of them were not close. There was some old family drama I had never fully understood, but I knew they barely spoke to each other. Alexis asked if she could sit down. I said sure. She looked at me with this concerned expression and said I looked terrible. Was everything okay? Was Madison treating me all right? I do not know what made me open up. Maybe it was because she was almost a stranger. Maybe it was because I desperately needed someone to talk to. But I found myself telling her about the polyamory situation. I did not mention Derek yet. Just that Madison wanted to open our relationship and it was tearing me apart. Alexis sighed and shook her head. She told me Madison had always been selfish like that. Always putting her own desires first, never thinking about how her actions affected other people. She said she was sorry I was going through this. I deserved better. We talked for over an hour, about life, about relationships, about family. Alexis was nothing like Madison. She was direct, honest, thoughtful. She listened when I spoke instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. When we finally said goodbye, she wrote her number on a napkin and told me if I ever needed someone to talk to, I should call her. I took that napkin home and stared at it for 3 days before I finally sent her a text. The text was simple. I asked if she wanted to grab dinner sometime, just to talk. She said yes immediately. We met at an Italian restaurant downtown the following Tuesday. I showed up nervous, not entirely sure what I was doing. But the moment Alexis walked in, something in me relaxed. Over pasta and red wine, I told her everything. About Derek, about following Madison, about the lies. Alexis listened to all of it, and when I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She told me that Madison had done similar things before. She had a pattern of manipulating people, of making them feel crazy for doubting her. Alexis had watched her do it to friends, to previous boyfriends, even to their own family. Then Alexis started sharing her own story. Growing up, Madison had always been the favored child. She learned early that she could get away with anything by being charming, by playing victim, by turning things around. Alexis had spent years in therapy learning how to set boundaries with her half-sister. But we did not just talk about Madison. We talked about everything else too. I learned that Alexis loved hiking, something I had been passionate about before Madison told me it was boring. She was into classic noir films, which had always been my favorite genre. We both loved trying new restaurants but hated fancy places with tiny portions. We laughed about the same things. The conversation flowed so naturally that when I looked at my watch, 3 hours had passed. When we left the restaurant, I felt lighter than I had in months. Alexis hugged me goodbye and said we should do this again. I agreed. We met again 3 days later for a hike. The weather was perfect. Crisp fall air, leaves changing colors, the trail not too crowded. We talked the entire 6 miles about our childhoods, our dreams, our fears.